Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Classic Gamer 74. I'm your host, Anthony Gamer, and now the arcade is open. In my last episode, I discussed ColecoVision lost media, and I got a whole bunch of new subscribers and a lot of views. And I want to thank you guys for subscribing and for viewing the channel. It means a whole lot to me. In today's episode, as promised, we're going to be discussing games that were inspired by the Arabian Nights. The Arabian Nights stories have been around for centuries. They are stories of adventure, deceit, romance, and many other things. Some of the characters and stories have found their way into pop culture where they have stayed and pretty will stay forever. Arabic folktales were written during the Islamic Golden Age. Surair, a great king, was scorned by an unfaithful wife, and in a state of heartbreak and rage, he marries a new woman and kills her the next morning. One wife is determined to stay alive, Scheherazade, so she tells her husband a different story every night for 1,001 nights. In December 1993, Magic the Gathering, a collectible card game, released an expansion set based on the Arabian Nights stories. The cards had the symbol of a scimitar and black borders. The set is highly sought after by collectors because of the unique and powerful cards, the beautiful artwork, and the high prices some of the cards from the expansion set tend to go for. For example, 20 years ago, the famous or signature card of the series, the Juzam Jin, was worth around $50. Now, it goes for around $1,500 and up. Even though it was a small set, only 78 cards, it has some of the most valuable cards in Magic the Gathering. The booster packs themselves had 8 cards, which again was kind of rare as the packs were usually bigger. It came with 2 uncommon and 6 commons. Another reason the cards themselves are quite valuable is they didn't have a long print run. There were only roughly around 31,000 cards printed. All of the famous creatures and places that you remember from the Arabian Nights stories were featured in the set, such as several jinn and efrits, elephants, camels, the Bazaar of Baghdad, the Library of Alexandria, the asp, and the singing tree, among others. They even created cards for some of the memorable characters from the Arabian Nights, such as Scheherazade herself, Sinbad, Aladdin, and Ali Baba. Now, some of the cards that are still being played today or have a special place in gaming history came from the Arabian Nights set. And those are Ali from Cairo, a great card because it won't let you die until that creature is removed from the board. Scheherazade because, well, it's actually a dick move, but you can create a game within a game. The Curd Ape, a very powerful creature, a 2/3 creature with a casting cost of 1, which is kind of why he's been banned from a lot of tournaments. The Sorceress Queen, which turns enemies into 0/1 creatures. Ring of Maruf, which can help you to pull a card from outside the game and put it into play. Whoa, man, I've actually used that a couple times. And Abu Jafar, who if you use him along with Lure, you can wipe out all your opponent's creatures. If you played Magic the Gathering back in the day, you still play, you got some memories of playing the game, you collect the Arabian Nights, you had them, you don't have, whatever. Anything Magic the Gathering related and some memories you'd like to share, please let me know. I'd really like to hear your memories because I have some great memories of playing Magic the Gathering myself. Still play to this day. Okay, so let's move on to video games. Now, in a previous episode, I showed the game Prince of Persia. It was on that episode where I discussed games based on literature. This game has gone into legendary status, and for a lot of people, when they think of an Arabian Nights themed game, that's the one they think about. Well, today I'm going to talk about a couple other ones that come from various computers, game systems, arcade, all over the place. Some old and some newer. So without further ado, let's get started. And starting off today, we have Arabian Nights. This was made for the Amiga computer in 1993. Pretty interesting platformer game. And I know, yeah, platformer games were all the rage in the 90s, but this one is really cool. And I'm really surprised it wasn't released for other game consoles, because this would definitely be a game that I would think you would see on the NES or Super NES. But the story is that you are this young man who has been imprisoned by an evil king who thinks that you're trying to kill his daughter, which really you're not. You're trying to rescue her. So you are imprisoned and you are trying to get out. Along with the platforming, it also has kind of the King's Quest kind of help people and they will help you kind of thing. You collect stuff on the way. It's a really cool game, and one I think that again should have gotten released for other game consoles, but if you get a chance to try this out, I highly recommend it. And next up we go back to the Atari 2600, and this is Open Sesame. It was released in 1982 by Bit Corporation, another platformer game. Kind of ahead of its time, actually, as platformer games weren't quite the thing yet. However, this game was only released in PAL format and did not get a US release. In this game, you take on the role of Alibaba, and you are trying to get up to the Cave of Treasures. You climb up these ropes, climb back down again. It's a pretty cool platformer game, and definitely what I would consider a lost classic. And next up, we have The Magic of Scheherazade. This was released in 1987 for the NES, and the company was Culture Brain. In this one, you take on the role of a magician whose princess, named Scheherazade, was kidnapped, and you have to go rescue her. You travel through time. It's a really cool RPG game with some great graphics and a great storyline. So again, this is another one of those NES games that kind of got lost in the shuffle, but one that is really worth checking out. And next up, we have Arabian. This game was released for arcades in 1983 by Sun Electronics under an Atari license. In this platformer game, you take on the role of an adventurous Arabian prince, and your goal is to rescue the princess from her palace. In your quest, you will sail the seas, crawl in caves, and fly magic carpets. Some points on the way for picking up the letters Arabian and get a bonus if they are collected in the right order. A pretty cool early platformer game, one I've enjoyed playing. One time I thought this was never ported out, but I found out that it actually was ported out for the Nintendo or the NES, but only in Japan. And here you can see that port right here. It's called Super Arabian, and as you can tell, it pretty much does follow the original game, although I'm not really sure what you're spelling here because those letters don't spell Arabian, but regardless, pretty cool game if you can find it. And speaking of Nintendo, we are going to the Game Boy Color with Shantae. This game was published by Capcom and was released in 2002. In this game, you take on the role of the genie girl Shantae, who is the self-appointed guardian of a small fishing village, Scuttletown. Living life in a lighthouse rather than a bottle, she's constantly on the lookout for danger. When the nefarious lady pirate Risky Boots catches wind of the treasure that was recently unearthed in the village, she launches an attack. To get Scuttle out of trouble, it's up to Shantae to prove that she's the rightful guardian genie, to the best of her dancing, buying, and hair whipping abilities. Now crack that whip. Really fun game. It reminds me a lot of Kabuki Quantum Fighter for the hair whipping ability. Stunning graphics, great music, great sound. Really a game that must be played to really experience. And next up we have Sinbad and the Throne of the Falcon. This game was released in 1987 by Cinemaware, that company that put out that really cool Three Stooges game. In this one, you take on the role of Sinbad, and you are going on his adventures all over the world. Different places, there's different places to see and things to do, and a princess who is not really happy that her beloved Sinbad is going out to see the world. But if you're a fan of the Sinbad stories from the Arabian Nights, you're going to love this game. And next up, we have Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. This was released in 1989 by Sony for the MSX. In this game, you take on the role of Alibaba, and you are trying to stop these other thieves, and at the same time, make lots of money and avoid that bad guy that's coming after you. It's kind of a combination of Pac-Man and Lock and Chase. Not the best way I can describe it. Pretty cool game. Lots of fun. Rather addicting, to be honest. And next up, we have an arcade game, and that is Arabian Magic, and it was released in 1992 by Taito. It's one of those really cool 4-player co-op beat-em-up hack and slash kind of games. Oh man, is this game awesome. It's set in the mythical world of the Arabian Nights. An evil one planned on destroying this kingdom, and you and your group of friends have to save the king. So the characters are Prince Lacid, Princess Lisa, Sinbad, and Afzal, and you have your own special powers, and you are trying to find these jewels of 7 colors. You get some djinn to help you out on the way. Really a cool game. Definitely one of those great beat-em-up games from the 90s that we all loved and enjoyed. Alright, next up we have a game that's very similar to the other one. Actually, it's really, really similar, and that is Arabian Fight. It was released the same year by Sega, 4-player co-op beat-up game. In this one, the corrupt Sheikh Shazabiz has abducted Princess Lorena, and he is utilizing every unscrupulous means of power he has at his disposal to achieve his ultimate ambition of conquering the world. The quartet of warriors, brave Sinbad, courageous Ramaya, fearless Goldor, and valiant Data, now bravely come face to face with Sheikh Shazabiz. They battle to save Princess Lorena. The foursome encounter opponent after opponent, freely using magic, their most prized possession. They journey to the infamous castle of Shazabiz to save Princess Lorena from the pirate ship and release planet Earth from the hands of Sheikh Shazabiz. Really cool game. Lots of violent action and magic. Definitely one of those great beat-em-up games from the 90s. And our final game for today is Gin Genie Arabia Mania. This was released in 1984 for the Commodore 64 computer by Dalali Software and published by Micromega. In this game, an evil Efreet has taken over the kingdom of Golden City, and you have to stop him. What you're doing is trying to free a magic user, a magician, who is the only one who can stop the Efreet. So you have to go through 4 different levels in order to save the city. First one is horizontal side-scrolling, and you are flying your magic carpet around, trying to get rid of these evil spirits. The second one, you found your way into the Inner Sanctum, and you are trying to get into the building as you're climbing up vines and trying to get in windows and not get killed by the evil spirits that are trying to stop you. Then level 3, you get to a platform as you're trying to get to the dungeon and get past the guards. And finally, the 4th level, you are trying to save the prisoner, the wise man, and trying to trap the evil Efreet in a jar. Wow, pretty cool game. I'm surprised I'd never heard of this until recently, but that's the thing about the Commodore 64 computer, is it's always full of hidden gems and surprises. In our next episode, we're going to have our 200th episode spectacular. Make sure that you join us. We're going to have some cool giveaways. We're going to have some memories shared. We're going to look ahead. We're going to look at some of great moments of this channel and discuss all kinds of cool stuff. So make sure that you join us for our 200th spectacular episode. Well, that brings another episode of Classic Gamer to a close. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, let us know by giving us a great big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to click that little bell icon down there so you'll be notified when I upload new episodes. Also, connect with me on all my social media platforms. Please check out my Patreon page. I've got some cool stuff on there you're not going to find anywhere else, including some bonus episodes. So please be generous and help us out on Patreon. Well, until next time, this has been Anthony Gamer. I will see you guys in the next episode. Until then, be strong, be safe, be happy, be healthy, and above all, take care of each other, be kind to each other, and stop hate of all kinds. See you soon. Bye.